Well, good morning. Happy Monday. It's Monday, February 9th. We are a week into February, if you can believe that. It just seems, as my wife says, the days are long, but the years are short. And this is for sure. We are quite well into 2026. Thanks for joining me. I hope you have a great day. I hope you had a great weekend. I had a good weekend. Let's see. Yeah, it was a good weekend. Just a great weekend. I thought it might rain. We were watching the storm clouds come in. Was that Saturday? But it didn't rain, and the wind died down. So we're really happy about that. I'm really happy about that. I have no idea if Mrs. Hook is happy about that. Probably. Let's see. We have a birthday today. Happy birthday, Chloe Newell or Chloe Heslin. She's now married, and I she's living the dream. Have a great birthday, Chloe. I will close that out, and let's see what else. We are going to start We are going to remain in Deuteronomy on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. But on Thursdays, we are going to start into the 40-Day Challenge. And the 40-Day Challenge is a book by Zach Zender, and it covers 5 topics: being, forgiving, giving, going. I can't remember what the 5th one is. Being, forgiving. Anyway, we're going to go through all 5 of the topics. It's going to be fun. And it's a 40-day devotional booklet. And I will definitely next week, we'll start on Thursday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday will be this Deuteronomy. And then Thursday is like a weekly devotional thing. And on that, I am going to change up the format a little bit. I'll be a lot more interactive with the comments. I'm going to reposition everything on my screen and have the comments as we go through it, because we'll all share this together and we'll see how it goes. It may go great. It may be kind of weird, but I'm looking forward to it. We also have on a Wednesday night, if you don't want to do the Thursday morning one, you could join us on Wednesday night at 5 to 6. We are also going to do the same thing the night before on Wednesdays, and that'll be 5 to 6, and then at 6 will be dinner. Except for next Wednesday, we are going to launch the 40-Day Challenge on Ash Wednesday. So there'll be no Bible study on that night. We're all going to launch at the Ash Wednesday service, and then we'll go from there. Okay, I think I got that all straight. And you know what I need to do is put together a chart, and then I'll show the chart on screen. Now that I think about it, that might be a good way to do it. All right. We did the birthdays. We did the weekend wrap up. Yeah, let's get into our study. We are in the 10 Commandments. This is the restating of the 10 Commandments. And we did, you shall not murder, and you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal. And now we're going to go to the next commandment, which is in verse 20. Here we go. This is the 8th commandment. Here we go. Right here. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. All right. So that's definitely not good. If you give false testimony against your neighbor, it is possible that legal action could be taken against your neighbor, which could end in him in a number of different ways. Notice that the commandment isn't to steal or to lie. The commandment is to, I've always thought this was interesting, that the 8th commandment is don't bear false witness against your neighbor, as opposed to just don't lie. And obviously, one of the main places that this could happen would be in a court system, where you're brought before a judge and the judge asks you, what did you see? What did you hear? And then you, as a first-person witness, would give a testimony about what it is that you saw and that you heard. And then based upon that testimony, there's an action that's taken against your neighbor. And your neighbor could be thrown into jail, or your neighbor could be fined, or your neighbor could be killed. And all three of those possibilities. So your testimony has a direct impact on your neighbor. Now, lying is different. You might, Jesus said, you shall tell the truth and the truth shall set you free. And I am the way, the truth, and the life. So Jesus talked a lot about the truth. The truth is necessary. But there are times when the truth has to be shared in a way that's spoken in love. And Jesus said, also speak the truth in love. And those are interpersonal relationships with other people, with your kids, or all sorts of things. But where the rubber meets the road is when you are in a court system or in a situation where what you say or what you hear and you give that testimony has a direct implication on the livelihood of another person. And this one, obviously, if a society is going to be able to survive, people have to tell the truth when they say what they saw or what they heard or what they know about. And if a society doesn't do that, the whole society falls apart. It's just that simple. And you can get by with white lies, they call them, little lies that don't really impact the world. Although Jesus would say, don't lie, period. Definitely there are times, I think, when people, might suppress the truth or do something because it's not all that important. That's a different set of circumstances than here at the Ten Commandments, which is do not give false witness against your neighbor, which is a very, very important thing. In the Old Testament, in the prophets, particularly the prophet Amos, rich people would drag poor people into the court. They would pay off the judge. They would pay off witnesses. The witnesses would say, this is what I saw. The judge would say, okay, I believe you. Of course, it's all fake. And then the person would get restitution. It was a way for people who have power or wealth to violate the court system, violate justice to get more power or more wealth, or get an enemy out of your way or something like that. And this is very, very common in many, many societies. You violate the truth so that the people with power get more power. I mean, basically, that's what happens. And this is why in the United States, our view of Lady Justice has a blindfold and a scale, because the intent of Lady Justice is to make sure that justice is blind, that it's the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. But it only works if society as a whole has a value in telling the truth. Because once that goes away, then the whole society falls apart. The people with power get more power. The people without power get less power. And then pretty soon you have this massive disparity between those in power and those that don't have power. And then you get a revolution and the whole society falls apart. And this cycle has gone on since the beginning of time. And there's the only way to stop this is if people as a society hold in great esteem the idea that they will tell the truth no matter what, that they will not bear false witness against their neighbors. And if the whole society has that, then the society holds together. The fabric of society holds together. And it will withstand a whole lot more outside forces. But once, but once a society devolves into every person for themselves, and I'm going to just look out for me, and I'm going to lie freely and bear false witness freely because it benefits me, and it's not seen as a sin, not a sin, but a major violation. Well, it is a sin, but it's also a major violation against the fabric of society. A society cannot live if people don't basically tell the truth in court of law. It's just the whole thing falls apart. The whole thing falls apart. It's about as close to anarchy as you can get because there's no justice, there's no truth. It's just society devolving into, what you see in the apocalyptic movies like Mad Max or whatever, where it's pure chaos, and it only takes it devolves rather quickly because and we know this because that's why we have so many apocalyptic movies, right? Because once truth goes out the window and once bearing false witness happens all the time, then it is not very long before you basically just look out for yourself. And that's it. There's a book called The Fourth Turning, and it was written in the 90s by these two guys, and they said that in the 2000s, from about 2010 to 2028, we would be in the fourth turning, which is this point in the cycle life of a society where people do not trust each other. And it happens on a cycle length of about every 80 years. And what happens at the end of the fourth turning is that people begin to realize future generations are born and they see that we need each other. We have to be able to rely on each other reliably for society to move forward. And then you get the first turning, which is like spring. It's compared to spring, winter, fall, and summer. Spring, summer, winter, fall, and winter. And we are in the winter time right now, up until, let's see, for a couple more years, according to this book. And then what happens is that we'll begin to trust society again. And isn't it interesting that this cycle is about 80 years and that also the lifespan of man is about 80 years, according to the Psalms or the Proverbs, whatever, one of those things. All right. It's just all very, very fascinating. It's all so fascinating. I can't wait to learn the big picture from God about how this all works because right now we see through a glass dimly, but someday we'll see face to face and have all the knowledge. All right. Don't give false testimony against your neighbor because society falls apart. And when Israel and Judah are conquered, it isn't because the Babylonians and the Assyrians were better force, because God was with the Israelites. It was because the Israelites did not follow this commandment. And because they did not follow this commandment, they bore false witness against their neighbor. The whole society fell apart. And once the society falls apart, people are like, why should I give my life for this country? And then the opposing country can come in and conquer it. And this is why this commandment is so important. I know it doesn't seem like it. It's just 10 words. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. Okay, 8 words. But it is one of the most important commandments of all of these. Well, they're all important, but it is definitely an important commandment. All right, that's enough of that one. Let's go to the next one. The last 2 commandments, 9 and 10. We'll do them together. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, and you shall not covet, or you shall not set your desire on your neighbor's house or land, his male or female servant, his ox or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. So in the Lutheran system, these are the last 2 commandments. And basically, it's a commandment about coveting. Now, the interesting thing about coveting is that when we say love the Lord, there's two tablets of the law. There's loving God and loving your neighbor. And the first three commandments are love God, and the remaining commandments are love your neighbor. So when you don't bear false testimony, you're loving your neighbor. But this last two commandments, coveting, like what does it hurt if I covet my neighbor's wife, or I desire my neighbor's house or land or male or female servant? And the reason why these are bad is because they're actually bad for you. I mean, they don't really harm your neighbor. We'll talk about this in some classes sometimes, like how, and people will say, well, when you covet your neighbor's stuff, you'll steal your neighbor's stuff. Well, yeah, but that's covered by another commandment. Don't steal. This is just a desire of the heart. Why should I not covet my neighbor's wife or house or land or whatever? And the reason is because this commandment is for you. If you are always looking at the grass that is greener on the other side, and you are not satisfied and content with where God has how God has made you, then you're going to be constantly coveting. You'll never be happy. You'll never be content. I wish I was 6'2". Actually, that would be a little bit too tall. I wish I was 6 foot tall, because taller people just they have the ability to have people look up to them, and they just tend to always, I say this because I'm the average height. I'm 5'10", so I'm average like everybody else. But when you see somebody who's taller, they just notice, they stand out. They are often picked for leadership positions because they stand out. This is the way life is. And I could wish all I want to be taller, but I will never be tall. Although with modern science, I understand that there are people that will go in and cut the bone in their leg and put in a spacer and allow that bone to grow through the spacer so they can actually gain inches of height by doing amazingly crazy surgeries. But I'm not. I suppose that's possible. But very few of us could afford that type of surgery, and so we must just basically live with how God's given us the hair color that we have, the skin color that we have, the height that we are, even things like our personality, which, many parts of it are given at birth. If you are not content with how God created you, it causes all sorts of problems in your life. And you look at other people and say, I wish I was like that person. I wish I was that tall. I wish I had that money. I wish I had that wife. I wish I had that house. I wish I had those servants. I wish I had his donkey. You look at your neighbor and you get Me Too-ism. And then what do? Well, a couple things. One is, if you have the ability, you'll go deep into debt to try to satisfy all the needs so that you can look like your neighbor or have the things that your neighbor has. Or secondly, you will live in depression because you don't have the things that your neighbors has. And neither of those things are healthy. The healthy thing is to be content. I mean, it is okay and very healthy to strive for more things. There is nothing wrong with that. But there are some things that you can control, and there's just some things you can't control. And the idea here is just to be content with what you have. Yes, you can try to better your life. There is nothing wrong with that, but be content with how God created you. That's the bottom line here. Just be content. Do not covet the wife, do not land. How many people in the United States today go deep into debt financially because they want what their neighbor has? They see their neighbor gets a new car, and they're like, I have to have a new car. So they go out and get the new car, and they don't have the money for the new car. But the desire to keep up with the Joneses, right? That's what we call it, is so strong that they get themselves into huge trouble. There's nothing wrong with having a new car, but if you're getting a new car because you need it and it's the right purchase at the right time, that's one thing. But if you're doing it because you want to keep up with the Joneses, that's very foolish because you can never have everything to keep up with everybody. There will always be somebody who's wealthier than you, unless you are the richest person in the world who is who has all that money. Yeah. And even when you get to that point, you think, man, if I just had $1 trillion, I would be the happiest person on the face of the earth. I'm not entirely sure that's true. Imagine having $1 trillion. Just stop and pause and think about it for a second. That means that somebody could kidnap your kid and ransom them for $100 billion, and it would only be a tenth of your income or tenth of your net worth. And you know, you have to think about those things. And it may not be the thing that you really, really, really want. As a matter of fact, people who win the lottery, typically after all the earnings are gone, are sadder and less content than before they won the lottery. Research has shown this time and time again. So there are times when you say, yeah, man, if I had $1 million or $10 million or $100 million or $1 trillion, just think of how, but basically it means that you have better vacations and you travel in comfort better. You might have your own private jet, but you still have to get up. You still have to shower and clothe and feed yourself, and you still have to deal with the things of the day, because when you have that kind of money, there's so much responsibility on you that you have to make sure that nobody steals it, that nobody kidnaps your kids. I mean, the goal, I'll end with this. The goal I think that everybody wants in life is to get to a point where you don't have to worry about anything anymore. Even retirement, right? Do I have enough money to retire? Because once I retire, I don't have to worry about work anymore. But what people find out in retirement is that, yeah, but work is just one small portion of the things that you worry about. And you get into retirement and there's a whole new set of things that you have to worry about. And you can never, ever get to the point where you turn your life over to somebody else, because those that do that typically will get frauded. So from the day you were born until the day you die, you always have to be on the lookout for yourself. And it never goes away. And those people that think that if they have enough money, it's going to go away, well, they're going to be sadly mistaken when they get the $1 trillion. As Jesus would say, or as Moses would say here, just be content with what you have. That is the best way to live your life, in contentment. It doesn't mean you can't pursue more, but just be content. And you can be content because the God of the universe created you and loves you and cares for you. And consider the lilies of the field. They don't toil. They just grow, and they're beautiful. And the birds, they eat, all the things that God provides. We have enough. We don't have to worry about it. There's whole industries of people worrying about the future, and people paying a lot of money to help them navigate the future. When just live in the present, prepare as you can for the future, but be content with what you have. And if God's created you with the ability to change the future because of a special, unique gift that you have or a new invention, then, go for it. Absolutely. But don't worry about it. The future is in God's hands, and you'll be fine. All right. Enough on that. All right. So we have gone through, we'll read, we'll do 22 when we get, that's 5:22 on Tuesday. Okay. All right. I think we'll just close in prayer. Gracious God, thank you for this day, and thank you for the opportunity to study your word. Be with us today and this whole week. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Thank you for those of you joining me online. I appreciate it. And I pray you have a great day because it's going to be a great day in the Lord. And we'll see you later. Take care. Bye.